changes, we'll keep you up to date with the latest information. News Talk KVNU 102 FM 610 AM.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by U&I Furniture. Logan Mayor Holly Danes was not available, so it was Logan Light and Power Director Mark Montgomery who appeared on KVNU's monthly Speak to the Mayor program on Wednesday. He said there are some future rate adjustments coming down the lines in the near future.
What we do every 3 to 5 years, and I think because the market's so crazy, we might start doing this annually, but we're going to do a cost of service analysis. And basically what that does is it takes all of our revenues, okay, this is what we made, and then it looks at all of our costs, and it's just to determine if our revenues are covering our costs. And I can tell you that last year they did not. I had to pull $1.5 million out of reserves to cover our power costs.
Montgomery said he's been with Logan City for 10 years, and they have not had a rate increase, which is pretty impressive. But he said power costs for them to purchase power on the open market have skyrocketed like everything else. We'll hear some more of Montgomery's comments on later KVNU newscasts. KVNU News Time is 5:06, and weather tonight, cloudy, slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm this evening. Overnight low around 60, 30% chance of showers and storms Friday afternoon, partly cloudy, upper 80s. Slight chance Friday night and Saturday of some storms, and Saturday's high in the mid-80s. We've stayed out of the 90s today. It's been to 88. It's 85 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Work with their Cache Valley team to build a stronger, more durable, long-lasting structure for your needs today. Visit northernsteelbuilding.com or call 435-677-7300.
We live in a great country. We live in a great valley with a lot to be thankful for. U&I Furniture wants to take a minute and say thank you for being such good neighbors and friends and customers. U&I features many brand names, including many American-made chairs by Southern Motion, Best, Franklin & Lane, Speed Queen appliances, and therapeutic mattresses, Legend brand TV consoles and entertainment centers. Find these American-made brand furniture products at the place where there's always a better buy, U&I Furniture, downtown Logan.
KVNU News Time is 5:07. A group in Cache County brings help to the unsheltered in the Logan, Ogden, and Salt Lake City areas. Corianne Crockett, the group's organizer, said that they tried to and do it about once a month. Hearts to Hands takes food and supplies such as clothing, sleeping bags, and hygiene kits to those areas looking for anyone in need. Crockett started Hearts to Hands about a year ago with her 2 sons and her aunt, and her boys had wanted to help people in need during the holidays, and then it grew into helping the unsheltered every month. Soon friends joined the group and brought others with them. Hearts to Hands will hold drives to get the items they pass out to the unsheltered. The Logan community has always been happy to donate food, supplies, and money. When they have enough supplies, they will drive their vehicles full of items to pass out to people in need. If you would like to help out, Corianne Crockett says you can look her up on Facebook. The group does not have an official Facebook page. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints provided new information in a statement released Wednesday regarding the Arizona sex abuse case in response to an Associated Press story. As reported earlier this month, the AP's article was centered on an Arizona man who told his church bishop that he had been abusing his daughters for years. The bishop called a Salt Lake City church hotline, not the police, to report the confession. The AP article allegedly described how a Salt Lake City church hotline operates. The church said in a statement that the nature and purpose of the church's helpline was seriously mischaracterized in the recent article. They said the helpline was key to making sure local lay ministers meet all legal requirements for reporting. In Wednesday's response from the church, they said abuse cannot be tolerated and it cannot be excused. The statement released also said the AP story has significant flaws in its facts and timeline. The timeline released by the church included public filings in the pending case and was taken from the sworn testimony of the mother of the victims. KVNU News Time is 5:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
610 AM and 102.1 FM. News Talk KVNU.
Finding comfort outdoors by upgrading your landscape is now easy and possible with the creative touch of Canyon Landscaping. Designed planting beds, landscape lighting, and paver patio upgrades will let you easily relax, entertain, and enjoy your home. Elegantly designed, professionally installed, on a budget, on time, guaranteed. Discover more at canyonlandscaping.com. Then call to schedule your free consultation. Call 752-3838 or go to canyonlandscaping.com. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
It's the return of the Rocky Mountain Kickoff, a high school football doubleheader played inside the USU football stadium on Thursday, August 25th. In the 6:30 game, the Preston Indians take on the South Sevier Rams. The 8:30 game features the Logan Grizzlies versus Bonneville Bees of Idaho Falls. Tickets are only $5 and available now at the USU ticket office or by calling 1-888-U-STATE-1. Also online at UtahStateAggies.com. The Rocky Mountain Kickoff, Thursday, August 25th.
This Tuesday, April Davis will change the world. She doesn't know that yet. All she knows is that she went to justserve.org and volunteered an hour of her time. Browsing through dozens of service opportunities in her community, April decided to spend her Tuesday evening serving dinner to mothers and their children at a transitional house. She doesn't know she'll be serving a particular mother and daughter who will be spending their first night in this home. April doesn't know that the hot meal she'll serve is the first this mother and daughter will have had in a week, or that the simple smile she'll offer as she serves them will help them realize that things are going to be all right. Which is why this Tuesday, April Davis will change the world. See the difference you can make. Sign up for service opportunities in your community. Visit justserve.org. JustServe.org is provided as a service by The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Turning my pain into purpose is pretty much what I have done to start this foundation.
In August 2020, after the death of George Floyd, Bridget Floyd and other family members established the George Floyd Memorial Foundation in support of the Black community.
It's going to take more than just us as a foundation. It's going to take the community, the world, to make a change.
Fight for racial justice for the Black community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Hour 2 of today's show, Thursday, August 18th. I'm really excited about this because I've been on this kick after some insensitive person said near me at a convenience store several weeks ago, summer's almost over. I've been trying to prove him wrong, even though I will never see him again and didn't know who he was. Because it is not. The festivals, the county fairs, the events going on, even outside, are still happening, and I hate the idea that people think it's over because the kids went back to school. Sucks for the kids. I get it. Sorry, kids, but the adults, it's still summer. I'm excited about this because it's also one of the coolest things that happens at the south end of the valley, and surprisingly, a lot of people don't know about it. It's got a lengthy history, which we'll talk about here in a bit. Joining us here in the studio are special guests today, Mandi, Felici, and Venessa Borges. I'm just kidding. I had to say it that way. We just talked about this. It's pronounced Borges. But we just talked about how, anyway, I'm just in a mood today. Sorry, Venessa. Trying to break the ice here so you guys aren't nervous about radio. Trout and Berry Days, man, this is, can we start there maybe, the history of this? Because this has been going on how long now?
31 years.
31 years? Yeah. It's so cool. And it's a bit different every year, but there are also some staple events that are just sort of part of this tradition. How did it all start?
Well, I think Roger Roundy was the one that started with the idea. He thought, what kind of community event can we create here in Paradise? What is Paradise about? And so we have White's Trout Farm, and we also have Week's Berry Farm. And so he came up with the idea somehow, Trout and Berry Days.
It's perfect.
I know, it's really fun. So they started in about 1991. So last year we celebrated our 30th year of Trout and Berry Days, and we even made it through the COVID year.
Yeah.
We didn't want to stop. We wanted to keep the event alive, but...
Well, and it being an outdoor event, you had the luxury of still being able to do most things, even during the pandemic. And, actually, a few people remarked that was the only thing they were able to get to that summer. They were so excited it was an option. It's such a rich history and Paradise, man. The town itself, Paradise, Avon, the whole area there at the South End of the Valley has its own unique history and story. And that's kind of what this is about, right? Sort of putting that on display, inviting the rest of the valley in for a bit.
Vanessa's ancestors settled that area. Maybe
Really?
we could talk about that.
Yeah, so when we talk about the rodeo, I actually think the rodeo started way before, technically, 1991 in Trout and Berry Days Farm.
Wow.
Or Trout and Berry Days celebration. It was started by Judy and Gerald Havland in Avon, Utah, and every year they would hold a rodeo.
Really?
And they had the arena, they had bleachers.
Sure.
It was like, and every year, we lived just down the road from them, and I remember we would hop on the four-wheelers and the side-by-sides or whatever we had at that time, and we'd cruise on up to Gerald and Judy's house, and it was just, and we would watch rodeo.
That is so cool.
And so a lot of people who continued on to rodeo in that valley or in that small community started at the Trout and Berry Days Rodeo.
Really?
When do you think they started? Like the 70s?
Do you know,
80s?
I should have found out before I came.
That is amazing.
Because it was happening. I remember, I'm 46 this year, and I remember going when I was tiny.
We're close to the same age, and I don't remember a time when it didn't happen.
Right.
As far as my memory goes.
And I don't actually remember what it was called. It might have even just been called Havland Rodeo. I just remember we would go up and, hey, it's time to go up to the Havland Rodeo. And I remember riding on the back of my best friend's horse because she was a barrel racer. I remember her brother was riding bulls. I picture
so
in
cool.
my head riding up into their place and seeing everybody sitting there, just enjoying each other. And
this
now
is very cool.
My daughter's rodeo, I have two, a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old, and it's important to me that it continues, but I also have a lot of love and respect for the Havland family.
Yeah.
They're all
rich
over
history
the
in Paradise.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I grew up there. I was born and raised there. My dad, we worked on a dairy farm, lived on a dairy farm my whole entire life.
Wow.
My brother still runs the land with the help of my dad. It gave me the opportunity. So I've never put on a rodeo before, ever in my life. It might end up being quite a show. I have no idea.
It sounds like you have quite a bit of experience, lifelong experience with what makes a good rodeo. And
she does.
One of my favorite things about this too is that you talk about the rodeo and the history there. There was a time when this was sort of invitation only. You know what I mean? You had to be a local. Mm-hmm. You had to know someone. I know we got invited because we had relatives in Paradise, but that was we didn't live in Paradise, but that's why we knew about it. We knew the date and the time because it wasn't widely announced. It wasn't, but that then evolves into this big festival that happens this time every year. I don't know. That's just, it's one of my favorite stories of Cache Valley, the evolution and it turning into Trout and Berry Days, which, by the way, I know people that drive from Salt Lake for Trout and Berry Days. So mainly one family comes up for the pie, which we'll talk about in a bit.
And
here,
the trout dinner.
It's... for listeners out there, Trout and Berry Days has a schedule, and it starts technically this weekend, this Saturday, with the big rodeo that we've just been talking about with Venessa here, and then a pause, and really gets underway with the festival-type events the following weekend, Friday and Saturday, 26th and the 27th. And I've linked to this on our Facebook page if you'd like to check it out. On the website, troutandberrydays.com. Again, linked on our Facebook page if you're driving and can't jot that down or remember it. It is linked there for you to find later tonight. Troutandberrydays.com, you can see a full schedule of events starting, again, this Saturday and wrapping up 1 week later. Saturday the 27th, which that day, by the way, starts by another famous event, the Paradise Parade. We'll talk about all this in detail. Our guests here in the studio again, we have with us from Trout and Berry Days, the planning committee, the rodeo organizers, and more, Mandi, Felici, and Venessa, Borges. And I hope you will join us if you have a comment or a question, a clarification, 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
For the second year in a row, Advanced Heating and AC is honored to be named gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah in the AC and HVAC category. They thank you for your support and vote of confidence in their company. You have many choices when it comes to your home's heating and air conditioning system. Make sure you choose the gold medal winning company, Advanced Heating and AC. Call 752-7272 or stop by their showroom west of DI. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
I've got a math question for you. When you add tolerance, subtract prejudice, and multiply efforts to treat one another with respect, what do you get? Less division. And school sports have it down to a science. Looking for an example of what can happen when we realize there's more that unites us than divides us? Look no further than high school sports in Utah.
This message presented by the Utah High School Activities Association and the Utah Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association. In partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Joined in the studio from Trout and Berry Days, happening in Paradise starting this weekend with the big famous rodeo that has been going on for 31 years. It's so cool to think about that. And then wrapping up next weekend with 2 days of festival-style events, from pie eating contests to parades to the also famous trout dinner, which is why a lot of people come. We'll run through the schedule here quickly. You've heard a little bit about the origins of this. And again, here in the studio with us, we have our friends Mandi, Felici, and Venessa Borges. Venessa, as she was mentioning, is do I have this right, youth rodeo chairperson, right?
Yeah, so actually it is a full-on rodeo.
Sure.
So we do with youth. We do have some younger. I have 3 different age divisions: a youth division, kind of a junior middle division, and then I do have an open division, which is usually ends up being about 15 or 16 older.
Okay.
So my goal this year, though, was to focus on the local and the younger kids who have not had the opportunity.
Oh, that's very
to
cool.
do something like this. We've had a huge turnout as far as local things go, and the community and the people. Actually,
the sponsors, much support.
I actually don't even have words to express how cool it has been. My girls and I, mostly my girls, went around door to door.
Oh, really?
Getting some sponsors, and I am very humbled by the turnout.
Community support has always been really fascinating to see with this.
Well, and I've lived there my whole life, and so I knew what was there. what kind of people I was dealing with. I knew Paradise and I knew Avon, and when they would come back and they would tell me what the people had said or the money that had been donated or the prizes or the time, and this will honestly, I think, be one of the biggest rodeos ever.
Oh, that is very cool to hear.
It's super awesome.
This is, for listeners out there, this is one to not miss. The rodeo itself, as Vanessa has explained here very well, is put together very carefully and planned very carefully to make this fun. Like, this is a festival for people to celebrate. And then so the rodeo happens this Saturday to kick things off. And then, Mandi, that's where you and the rest of the committee come in next Friday and Saturday, right?
Right.
And you wrap all this up with, it's kind of like a county fair environment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very food-oriented, games-oriented, fun-oriented, concerts in the park and things like that.
Almost everything is free, too. The rodeo is a free event. We have so many amazing sponsors that have donated money to run the rodeo.
Oh, very cool.
And so it's a free event. We have a free concert afterwards. Darren Little will be there singing. He's a singer-songwriter, very talented. And then, next Friday we have food trucks and a horseshoe tournament, pickleball tournament, so many fun things. And then Saturday the 27th, we start with a 5K, fire department breakfast, sand volleyball, flag raising by the town veterans. The Paradise Parade starts at 10:30. And then this year we've got inflatable slides and games for the kids,
cool.
and this year they're free because
just
we have
for the kids.
We have yes.
Is that a strict rule?
Well, it's a height limit. It's a height limit. You might be okay.
Oh, I might be. I'll go in on my knees. I love those inflatable slides. Can't hurt yourself on an inflatable slide. No, this is fun. I like to try and describe this to people when I've talked to friends about Trout and Berry Days. When you go up there, Paradise and Avon are quieter towns. Everyone knows each other still. And for these 3 or 4 days around Trout and Berry Days, it becomes this tourist magnet. It becomes this, it's so crowded. I think it's maybe the only time of the year that you would have a hard time parking on First West but it brings that many people in, and it's so cool to see. But also, we should mention this quickly before we wrap up here. This is also really good for the city, right? It brings in a lot of attention. A lot of money is spent on these days on other things while they're there. But that's not the goal. The goal is you guys are just celebrating kind of the heritage of Paradise, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
That sense of community is really alive in Paradise, and you feel that at events like this.
That is very cool.
The Lions Club does a great job. They serve like 1,300 trout dinners.
Wow.
And the population of Paradise is, I think, just under 1,000.
Yes.
So, they're
coming from somewhere else.
It's a big deal, yeah. But we love it. We have so many great events, and it's so fun to see the kids running around playing and neighbors talking and spending time together.
I think that's what people actually enjoy the most. I love just sitting there with my neighbors and my friends and my family or my neighbor family and just talking and chatting and remembering. There's a lot of memories. There's a lot of heritage. There's a lot of life in Paradise and Avon. And I know that I actually did not get or did not even find all of the businesses, but the ones that I found I found over 65 businesses tied to Paradise and Avon.
That is very cool.
And my support was huge. We're giving away a brand new custom made saddle. I have 13 buckles for every single event.
Very cool.
Prizes for every event. We have added money for rodeo people. They understand what that is.
Yeah.
For the non-rodeo people, that is extra money that has been sponsored that will go straight back to the contestants.
Which is a big deal to them, right?
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
Huge to them. And especially for a small town rodeo, that's a big deal.
That's very cool.
So
this it's inspiring to talk about and just to see the community coming together, because it's really each and every year, as Mandi, as you've said, it's a community planned event. And it is something to not miss. I'll just say that again. Troutandberrydays.com. You can see a whole list of events that we haven't had time to get to here. Horseshoe tournaments, the fire department cooking breakfast one morning of the second weekend, the vendor booths like a county fair style event, the big parade Saturday morning the 27th. Berry pie eating contest, which is, I'm not kidding, famous statewide. The trout dinner, also famous statewide. The rodeo, famous statewide. Pickleball tournaments, volleyball competitions, all of this. And I'm just skimming the website here. Check it out. Full schedule starting this Saturday, August 20th, with the big rodeo. And then next weekend, Friday and Saturday, the 26th and 27th, festival-style events. It's 2022's Trout and Berry Days in Paradise, Utah, getting underway this weekend. Troutandberrydays.com. Thanks again to Mandi and Venessa for their time today, and to our listeners for tuning in. And please stay tuned. We'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People and highlights from the governor's press conference today, right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:30. This look at the news brought to you by Whole Tree Care. With school back in session, many families are looking for new or different child care options. The state's careaboutchildcare.utah.gov website can help families make informed choices about care and identify providers that best fit their needs. Rebecca Banner, director of the Office of Child Care within the Department of Workforce Services, says that using that website gives families all of the tools and filters to find exactly the kind of care they need. In addition to finding care based on geographic location, age of child, and cost, parents can search for after-school programs, family care providers, and others specialized programs to help fill in the after-school gaps. The site also has information about financial assistance options and providers that accept subsidies. All of the providers on the Care About Child Care tool are licensed through the Department of Health and Human Services and meet health and safety requirements. Well, it was a big day yesterday in downtown Logan as the latest In-N-Out restaurant in the state opened in Logan at 404 North Main, the former location of Mooch's 66 that had been there for many years. Father and son from Salem, Utah, made sure they were first in line. In-N-Out's new Logan restaurant held that grand opening yesterday morning with plenty of fanfare, including Chris and Carson Hickman, who set up camp on Monday. While the store officially opened around 10 a.m., employees opened a little bit early due to the line that was slowly building up around throughout the week. For the Hickmans, the need to be first inside sprouted from when Chris used to hang out with his own dad at In-N-Outs across California, and hopes to continue that tradition with his own family, including 14-year-old Carson. Carson told Fox 13 that while he was technically the second customer to order at the counter, he was on the same ticket order as his father. The father and son said it was worth it, despite very little sleep during the past few days. As for the Hickman's order, they had grilled onions, mustard fries, a large Coke, and a chocolate shake. KBNU News Time is 5:33.
Men, sometimes women drop subtle hints like,
"Honey, we've been driving for a while. Are you hungry?"
"Nah, I'm good." "What's wrong? Are you crying?"
"I'm starving and you won't let me eat."
Women can speak a different language. So here's a hint, guys. Call Hull Tree Care to trim and shape your overgrown trees and shrubs. Your yard will look amazing. Your trees will be healthier. And your wife? Well, take her out to eat, okay? Hull Tree Care. That's HULL Tree Care. 760-6587.
KVNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy skies, slight chance of showers and thunderstorms, overnight low around 60. 30% chance of showers and storms Friday afternoon, high in the upper 80s. Slight chance of showers Friday night into Saturday. With the cloud cover today, it's stayed out of the 90s. It's been to 88, and it's 86 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Logan Extermination. Do you have a huge influx of creepy crawlers invading your home? They have a solution for you. Call Logan Extermination for a full exterior spray. They'll solve your bug problem. Logan Extermination 752-8450. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Monday, August 22nd, come help ignite the light with Alex Boyer as he performs a free concert at the Cache County Fairgrounds, bringing positive support to suicide prevention. Suicide affects all walks of life, backgrounds, and age demographics. Join Alex Boyer Monday, August 22nd for a free concert bringing attention to suicide prevention and a new national suicide and crisis lifeline, 988. If you think you may need help or just want to talk with someone, call 988. Donations of any size are accepted and welcome to help make this event possible. Go to CacheValleyIgniteTheLight.com for concert details and donation information. The outpouring of support for this event last year was unbelievable. Business and individual donations are vital for the 2022 event. Join Alex Boyer at the Cache County Fairgrounds Monday, August 22nd for a free concert bringing attention and positive support to suicide prevention. Donations of any size are accepted and welcome. Go to CacheValleyIgniteTheLight.com for concert details and donation information. That's CacheValleyIgniteTheLight.com. And thank you for making this event possible.
This is Deputy Brad Nelson with the Cache County Sheriff's Office. Schools are back in session throughout the valley, which means kids are going to be out on the roads during the morning and afternoon commutes. Law enforcement will be patrolling school zones where the speed limits are 20 miles per hour. Also, watch out for crosswalks and crossing guards. We're asking citizens to be alert while driving and help us keep kids safe. Thank you.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for the... And there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the
right seat. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Continuing on with hour 2 of today's show. Thanks again to our guests, and be sure to get out to Trout and Berry Days if you've never been, especially, but if you've been before, a bigger and more robust schedule planned even this year. So moving back into politics here in Utah, Governor Cox hosted his monthly news conference today. This is something that's aired on television and broadcast via various radio stations throughout the state. Different than the Direct Link event, which we get an opportunity to host every once in a while right here in our studio, focused on rural issues. The governor's regular monthly news conference is more of a statewide thing with more of a populated area of the state, Salt Lake County, Utah County, Wasatch Front area issues. The governor usually begins, though, with some remarks of his own before he gets to questions from the media, where things really get interesting. And I wanted to start with some of the governor's remarks. I usually skip them because they're prepared statements, but something very touching and real and serious happened today, and it's actually something that an experience I shared with Governor Cox. Many of us did. Anyone who's been involved in Utah politics for any amount of time over the last 10 years or so knew a man named John English. He was an avid tweeter, but he was involved in various different ways with both Republicans and Democrats. He was a pop culture junkie. He just absolutely could not get enough of movie reviews and more. He was a regular listener of our Friday movie shows with Andy Morgan, even though he lived in Salt Lake. He was well known in Utah political circles as an activist, as a person who had testified many times, especially on bills pertaining to access to health care and non-discrimination. He was a father of two and a husband. He was a very thoughtful man, and sadly this week the family has given permission to say this publicly, but sadly this week, after lifelong intermittent bouts with depression, John took his life. John was a friend of mine. John was a friend of Governor Cox. In fact, Governor Cox and I, before he was governor, had conversations about our conversations with John because they were that fascinating. In fact, another personal side to this for me, over the last several months, I'd been having an ongoing and very slow-moving conversation with John about different political eras and how they're reflected in pop culture, especially in movies. Looking at movies from the 80s, for example, if you look at those movies, there's always sort of an anti-government sentiment. The government's always a bad guy, even in Ghostbusters. And then that shifts in the 90s, and you see kind of a different representation of different political policies in the movies. And then you get to the 2000s, late 90s, 2000s, and it suddenly the big corporations are usually the bad guys in movies, taking advantage of small towns and polluting their streams and things like that. So it's an interesting evolution, and John and I had a long discussion about whether, chicken and the egg, which one precedes the other, or is one reflecting the other? Do the movies and the pop culture of the era drive certain political narratives in a certain direction, or vice versa? Do the political narratives drive our entertainment a year or two afterwards? John was a fascinating guy, is what I'm getting at. And he was thoughtful, and he was very intelligent, and I'm going to miss him. And I'm sad that he felt at that time this week that he didn't have anyone. Yeah, I wish he would have called me. The governor said that today as well. Again, as a friend of John's, he said, I wish he would have called me. A lot of people, my good friend Holly Richardson of Holly on the Hill fame, and now editor of Utah Policy, a longtime Republican activist, even one-time Republican lawmaker, she and I talked a bit, and she said, I'm devastated. That he didn't feel, all the friends he had, devastated to think that I didn't call him and see how he was doing at that time. I mean, you just don't think to, right? Or maybe we should think to. This is all a setup for a personal moment the governor took today during his monthly news conference to speak to this, to the loss of his friend and my friend, John English, and what it meant to the governor as far as a message he wanted to send to the rest of Utah with this on his mind.
And so if I might just use this as an opportunity to ask people in the state of Utah, first of all, if you are suffering from depression or anxiety, if you're struggling or having thoughts of suicide, I would beg you, first of all, please stay. We need you. We need you here in our state. You are so important. I've been where you are. I've shared this before, but as a youth growing up, I struggled with suicide ideation, and it's not uncommon. You are certainly not alone if you are feeling those things, and you are not broken. There is nothing unfixable about you. We need you, and we need you here. So please reach out and get help. We have more resources than ever before. We have a new suicide prevention hotline, like 911, only for mental health. It's 988, and at the push of 3 buttons, you can immediately be connected with a professional who can help you through that crisis. Please talk to a friend, a family member, a counselor, a coworker, anyone. Just talking about it, we know, has the ability to reduce the chances of an attempted suicide. And then to those who aren't feeling that way right now, I would ask you all to reach out to your family members and your friends and do something very simple. Just ask a simple question. Ask, have you thought about suicide? And if so, have you thought about it recently? Now, I know that's kind of a scary question to ask, and sometimes we think that if we talk about it, it may put ideas in someone's head. The research is very clear that that is not true. That is not a thing. In fact, the opposite is true, that just by bringing it up, just by talking about it, even if the person has been thinking about it and they're not willing to talk right now, knowing that you're the type of person that is open and willing to have that conversation with them is sometimes enough to keep them here, and when they're ready, they will talk to you. And I know the second part of this is even more scary. What if the person says yes? What do I do then? Well, you don't have to have all the answers, and we don't expect you to have all the answers, but I think there's some great training out there called QPR training. Think about CPR for saving a physical life. QPR is how we save someone who's in crisis. So the first is question. That's the Q, and you just ask that question. The second part of that is just persuade, and that is we persuade the person to get some help, professional help. And again, we have lots of institutions that can help with that. 988 being the easiest, but there are many others, and easy to find in the state. The Safe Utah app is another one that we recommend, especially for our young people. It's in about 90% of our schools now, including higher education. Every child and every parent should have access to the Safe Utah app. At the push of a button on your smartphone or device, you can immediately be in contact with one of our professionals at the University of Utah who could help. And then the R is for refer. So we persuade them to get help, and then we refer them to one of these lifelines to help protect lives. If we will all do that today, tomorrow, this week, throughout this year, I know we can save more lives, and we can do better here in the state of Utah. So on that somber note, I'll open it up to any questions that you might have.
The governor took many questions after those remarks, and we'll get to some of the highlights of those, covering everything from water policy going forward, rumors that the Utah legislature planned to revisit the ban on conversion therapy here in Utah for reasons, well, we'll get into that, and more. So highlights from that coming up after the break. But I wanted to start with these remarks from the governor. Again, these remarks coming after the news yesterday put out by his family that John English, longtime political activist here in Utah, a commentator, he was a writer, he was a thoughtful and kind person, father of two, loving husband. His wife and children shared the message yesterday that after bouts with depression his whole life, he took his own life this week, and they wanted people to know that. They wanted to give the opportunity, as the governor just took there, to talk about the 988 hotline and suicide ideation and how surprisingly common it is, and how easy it would be for all of us, as the governor said there, to make a difference. Sometimes by just asking a friend or a loved one who you know might be struggling or suspect might be struggling, if they're thinking this way, and talking to them about it so they don't feel that they're all alone. John, you'll be missed. This is for a lot of people who have been involved in politics many years. John was well known, and the whole community just kind of rocked by this news last night. The governor speaking to it there, as it personally affected him as well. He'd known John, he said, for about 15 years, longer than I had even. So, 988. That's the number you need to know if you are experiencing this. If you know someone or feel that someone close to you may be struggling, reach out to them. A conversation is, the evidence shows, the experts who have researched this for years show again and again that a conversation can be all it takes to stop ideation from becoming an actual tragedy, like has just happened here in Utah. So on the other side, we'll get to the governor's other remarks on politics and policy here in Utah right after this.
Loveland Living Planet Aquarium takes us outside our everyday lives into a world of discovery. It's a chance to explore our innate curiosity, discover animals from around the world, and experience the all-new outdoor plaza and eco. More to explore at Loveland Living Planet Aquarium. Reserve your visit at thelivingplanet.com.
It's the last days of the Anderson Seed and Garden Cash and Carry sale. They have marked down all remaining trees, shrubs, evergreens, and perennials to 25% off. But if you pay with cash, you can save an additional 10% off your purchase price during their annual Fall Cash and Carry sale. There is still a wide selection of top-notch plants in stock. Get them now before they're gone. But hurry while the selection is the best. The Cash and Carry sale at Anderson's Seed and Garden, 69 West Center, Logan.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work. Sorry, I'm late. Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 in the morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Highlights from the Governor Cox's monthly news conference today here on the show right now. The governor spoke, as you heard before the break there. He spent a lot of his time during opening remarks talking about a recent news of a suicide of a well-known Utah political friend of mine, friend of the governor's, friend of many, who took his own life this week. And his family put the word out last night, said they want people to know and they want people to talk about this because talking about it can save lives and could have saved John's. His family said in a statement today. So the governor did just that. You heard that audio before the break. After that, he took questions from the media, and one of the very first questions was in regards to a news story today that relates to House Bill 11, the transgender youth sports ban from the legislative session earlier this year. That bill, that ban, is currently in court. We'll see. Lawmakers said at the time they passed it, they were pretty sure it was unconstitutional, and they did it anyway. Political bandwagons can make brains mushy, I guess. So it's trickling through the courts. It's likely to fail, but it has led to an environment out there, and the governor was asked to address that in light of, again, a news story from this week. The events themselves took place a bit ago, back in the last school year, but the news story is reported parents who, now we all know parents can get a little weird at sporting events, right? The kids don't, the players don't usually, the parents can. We've all seen it, and maybe unfortunately you've been that parent at a soccer game or a baseball game or a basketball game, right? Or a volleyball game. Hopefully not, but maybe. Either way, that got out of hand, and House Bill 11 spurred a new angle to all this, which the governor called very unfortunate. The angle was that parents whose daughters lost to other players during a tournament in the spring went to the school district and filed a complaint and asked for an investigation of the other players who beat their daughters in this tournament, accusing them of being secretly transgender. They were not. the investigation showed, but it speaks to an absolutely bonkers environment out there. And the governor was asked about that today.
And there are unreasonable parents everywhere. Always, it's from little league to college sports and professional sports. I've been guilty of it myself, where I've yelled at refs in the past, and I've been a ref who parents have yelled at. We get really involved in our kids, as we should, but sometimes that can go a little too far, where we've had threats of violence against referees in soccer leagues across the nation, football, baseball, softball. We've seen some very poor sportsmanship. Usually it's the parents and not the kids. We've seen some great examples of sportsmanship in the Little League World Series this year and in other places. So I just think we would all be a little better off if we would take a step back and give a little more grace in these options. But I don't know that there's anything legally we could do to change that.
And finally, the governor took questions on water in light of the news that the federal government was stepping into the multi-state compact and negotiations over water out of the Colorado River, which greatly influences the future of southern Utah. But also, the Colorado River is very important to Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Southern California. The federal government stepped in and said basically the states weren't approaching this seriously enough. And so they were taking over as far as water shares and negotiations go. Fox 13's Ben Winslow asked the governor what that means going forward.
Sure. Yeah, I think that kind of is kind of goes without saying. I'll say it anyway, Ben. I think it's important, and I think the chair of our Utah Colorado River Commission said as much as well this week. Gene said that look, every state is going to have to cut back. We know that we're never going to get what was our fair share, what we had been promised, because the hydrology of the river is just not there. We certainly hope that it will be someday, but it is not right now. And so we have these agreements in place. We know the reality is that the lower basin states have used more than their allocation. We've used less than our allocation, but there's not enough for all of our allocations. And so we're all going to have to cut back. The question will be is how do we fairly distribute that cutback among the states? And those are the conversations that are ongoing.
Governor, Time Magazine had a story out about you today with the headline, "The Red State Governor Who's Not Afraid to Be Woke." Your thoughts about that story, and have you received any reaction?
It's a stupid headline. That's ridiculous. Look, that headline is doing the exact same thing that I rail against. Being kind and trying to bring people together is very different than being woke, and I think I just completely disagree with it. I think it's a trash headline. It's not accurate, and yet I did get a chance just before I came in. I kind of skimmed the article. There are some things in there that I think are fair. Certainly, I have been outspoken in trying to bring people together in a positive way. I stated in there that I'm not trying to own the libs. I'm trying to convince the libs that there's a better way. That's not being woke. That is very different. I think we have a problem with cancel culture and wokeness, and I think it's deeply problematic, and I think it's adding to the divide in our nation. I have no idea where that word came from. Certainly wasn't used in any of the interviews, and I have no idea why they would choose that headline.
The governor went on to be critical of the media in another way that I very much respond to. He said a lot of the problems with the way things are reported could be fixed by journalists writing their own headlines rather than an editor. He pointed to that Time Magazine article saying, pointing out that nowhere in the article, in the interview, anything is the word woke or cancel culture even used, but some editor put it in the headline to grab eyeballs, which, I mean, it did. Look, we're talking about it. It's actually a great article, though, if you have a chance to read it. It talks about the governor's more compassionate approach to things like transgender rights and gay rights, and his criticism of his own party as well for embracing some of the more extremes on these issues over the last couple of years. And the governor, if you follow the news, even has taken on our own legislature over House Bill 11, the transgender youth sports ban. He vetoed it. They overrode his veto. But he has said that he won't shift on this, that he doesn't find these types of policies useful or inclusive or helpful to fostering a healthy environment in the state for families and students and more. So the governor said, I've been very clear about that, but I get nervous every time I do an interview like this, just for this reason, because I never know how it's going to be presented by those media organizations as they, write the stories. So again, the governor's saying he thinks a lot could be fixed if the editors chasing eyeballs and ears didn't write the headlines, but instead the journalists who wrote the story got a chance to do that. Check it out. You can watch the governor's full interview on the YouTube channel for the governor's office. I've linked to it on our Facebook page. Tomorrow on the program, a special 2-hour For the People movie show. We're going to be talking about the summer movie season so far and the final weeks left of the summer movie season, and then maybe jump ahead a little bit, talk about the holiday films that are already being announced. Andy Morgan joining us for a 2-hour movie show tomorrow. Be sure to tune in. Dave Ramsey is next here on KVNU Logan.